you can't hear, it's raining outside. And I like to believe the reason why it's raining outside is because the whole world is in mourning that the Hunger Games franchise is coming to an end. Mockingjay Part 2 picks up right where the events of Part 1 left off, almost in a sort of mid-sentence fashion, and we see Katniss. She is ticked off, and she's ready to storm through the Capitol to shoot an arrow at President Snow. Wow, you guys. I'm not even gonna try to hold back or even try to not be as vulnerable as possible, because I am just an absolute hot mess, you guys. I truly feel like I experienced what when many people say the term speechless. This was, in every sense of the word, a grand spectacle of a blockbuster that you would ever want out of a finale. This was just the most pinnacle film for the franchise. And if you're a diehard fan of the Hunger Games franchise, this movie is just gonna hit you so hard. They have truly taken their time, and they have truly understood the source material and what made the source material so potent and so beautiful about the political message and the message about one voice and how one voice can change the world and doing what you feel is right, but how that one voice isn't just a distinct one person, how we all have a voice, and that we are all Katniss Everdeen, but we don't need to follow blindly to one leader, that we are, in a sense, our own leader. We take leadership of our own lives and our own destinies, and that message is just so beautifully described in this movie. Now, you're probably wondering, for those who haven't read the novel, is there more action due to the fact that Part 1 was more of a very talking held film? There is a ton of action in this movie, but I don't want you to think that it's like a Deathly Hallows Part 2 in terms of spectacle, where it's like when they close down Hogwarts, that for the rest of the movie it's basically a non-stop action thrill ride. It's not like that. There are action set pieces here and there with some more talking and more build-up throughout those in the meantime. But in my opinion, the pacing never dragged. But I'm also a big, huge supporter of Part 1, and I never found that Part 1 ever dragged. When you compare the Hunger Games to other blockbusters, this one just sticks out so differently. There's a craftsmanship to the direction, to the actors involved, that you just don't get in other films. I mean, Jennifer Lawrence is Katniss Everdeen. No one else can play Katniss Everdeen like Jennifer Lawrence. And there are moments in this film where she is not speaking, especially towards the end, and you can feel everything. You can feel her holding back. You can feel her becoming a zombie at times, or the weight of the world is literally on her shoulder. You know, Jennifer Lawrence has embodied everything that is of Katniss Everdeen so brilliantly and made of us a female heroine like we've never seen before. Now, flaws. Now, I get it, diehard fans, you might not want to hear this, but there are some minor flaws here and there in the movie. It didn't really overall deteriorate the film, in my opinion, but it might for some. There's a pinnacle scene towards the end. You probably know what I'm talking about if you've read the novel. I feel like it's a little too on the nose. Like, it was too perfectly set up that I feel like the element of surprise was taken away. And, like, they set it up so perfectly in the movie that, like, it spelled it out so perfectly that when the scene came, you were like, you kind of knew that it was going to go in that direction. Also, I feel like some people might be taken back by the overall bleakness of the movie. Mockingjay Part 2 is very bleak. There is not a single moment, well, maybe one moment in this entire film where any sort of happiness is shed. This is a very bleak, dark, and very depressing film. But given the subject matter of the movie, I wouldn't have it any other way. And it's just not going to be an enjoyable ride. So it's a very bleak movie. But I like to also think that it's still a very optimistic movie about the future. And like I said, I think the message to this movie just showcases that optimism that is present in this film, even if at times, you know, is not as present as others, given the circumstance of the scene that we are witnessing. And I do feel like some people may be taken back by the overall pace of the movie. I saw this movie at a double feature, so I saw part 1 and then I saw part 2, and I think that really impacted my viewing for the movie. But I do feel like some people are going to be a little taken back by the first 30 minutes and how it's still, build up. I do feel like some people will still be like, okay, this is part 2, I'm ready to get to the action. But when you get to the action delivers. The one that they've been advertising a lot in the trailers and the marketing, the tar, was incredible to see. Like, it had that impact that you were hoping for. But in my opinion, the best action sequence, without a shadow of a doubt, has to come down to that sewer sequence. That infamous sewer sequence with the mutations and all that stuff going down. That scene was straight out of a horror movie, and the intensity and tension of it was fantastic. Direction-wise, this movie is immaculate. I thought Francis Lawrence did a fantastic job directing this movie. You really feel like, on a grand scale, that this is a conclusion, and then you also feel like all these characters are disposable, that anyone could go at any moment. And I want to apologize. Sorry if I sound very tired and exhausted. It's because I am. This movie literally destroyed me, and I'm not gonna lie, I sobbed during this film. I'm a man who's not afraid to admit his emotions. I sobbed. It should probably come to no surprise, but as the score goes, I'm going to give the final installment in the Hunger Games franchise, Mockingjay Part 2, a perfect score of a 5 out of 5. This is the grand conclusion that you would want out of the Hunger Games franchise. So you guys, have you seen Mockingjay Part 2? What did you think, you guys? How emotionally were you leaving the theater? What did you think as this franchise as a whole? And I want to end on just by saying thank you guys for all the love and support that you gave me over this channel. We're not done yet. I still have more Hunger Games videos to make, but I still love you guys. And until next time, you guys, I'm the Slasher Movie Viewer, and you guys have just been slashed.